used to think that if something looked good, came my way, was available, it was an opportunity that I should take. In this podcast, I expose my life, the distortions I spent years living in and mistaking for who I was. I invite you to confront what you've normalized and choose differently, so you can build a reality you fall in love with. Today in Undistorted Self, I was so wrong. Not every open door is a door you should walk through. Not every opportunity is going to work for you. There's a lot of things that are going to present themselves in our lives that might look good, that might seem to take you in the right direction. But not everything that looks like something actually is that. So you need to be very discerning. An opportunity is like a vehicle. An opportunity is meant to take you somewhere. It's meant to move you from one place to another. There's going to be many opportunities in our lives. There are going to be many places that we're going to arrive to. It's not just one. There's not one destination. We go for multiple destinations. And our destination, we can think that it's going to be one thing and then decide to change it. That's okay. A lot can change. As well as any opportunity you take, you can leave. You don't need to stay. You're not bounded to something in your life, internally in your life. I'm going to use this metaphor to help me explain a little bit opportunities. So imagine an opportunity is a bus, and you're standing in a bus stop, waiting for the next bus. If you're not really sure where you're heading to, you might just wait which bus stops, see if it looks good, decent enough, and you might get on it. And then decide where you get off. You can do that. I've done it. I did it. I just wanted to move. So an opportunity came my way. I thought I could learn. I'm young. Let's take it. And that's fine. You can do it when you don't yet know where you're heading to. But make sure that you are aware of that not everything is what it seems. And that if you are just taking something at random, not knowing the destination, a lot can happen along the way, or you might be hurt by where you end up, and you might also be hurt by the cost you end up paying for that bus. Most buses in life come at a cost. They have a fare. Sometimes the fare is charged at the beginning, so you'll be aware what you're paying. Sometimes it isn't. Sometimes you might write it, and then you realize that you forgot that you might have just tapped when you begin but the ride, but you don't know how much you paid for, what you paid for nothing. And once you are waiting in the bus stop, you might realize you've been charged every single stop. I'm saying this because the more we go through life unaware, just wanting to move without a direction or clear standards on what we're willing to pay, we're going to get hurt. And we might lose ourselves, disconnect from ourselves, damage the relationship with ourselves. Sadly, in life right now, there's too many bosses that are working, that are there, that their intention is not to disconnect you from yourself necessarily. Sometimes it is, but not necessarily, but that they might work in that capacity. There's too many of those bosses. That's hard. So that's where, you need discernment, but that's where a lot of the distortion comes. So the distortion in opportunities comes from 3 ways. One way is you don't know the destination. You don't know where you want to head to. So you're just getting on buses at random. And again, that is fine. You don't always need to know, but just know where you're getting yourself into. But that not knowing the destination, having no direction, can come at a very high cost for you. The second distortion is that if you don't have standards, if you don't have non-negotiables, and if you don't really know what you're willing to pay for something, you might end up paying a lot more And even though many opportunities, everything in life serves as information. All opportunities can give you data, can help you clarify what that destination is, can help you know, what cost you're actually willing to pay. Yes, opportunities work to serve you, also to give you information. But you need to use that information. You need to decide if, okay, now that I know where I want to head to, is this actually heading that way, or should I get off and find a better bus? If I already know what I'm actually willing to pay, do I want to keep paying this fare, or should I get off and find a bus that doesn't ask me to pay more than I'm willing to? Sometimes when we're at a bus stop and there's barely any buses, meaning there's scarcity of opportunities, we start to get desperate. We have this need to move. Regardless, might not be no direction, but you feel like you need to move. And that can push you to literally just get on any bus. So scarcity can harm you, or timing. If you wait and wait, you start losing sense. You might have started with non-negotiables. You might have started with standards, and you keep applying and getting rejection. So you start lowering your standards. To try to get an opportunity. That's not the way. You'll end up paying a lot for that. And you're probably gonna end up paying at the cost of yourself. The biggest thing that you need is discernment. You need to have clarity. So before I give you that info, I'm gonna tell you a little example of my life. I've been using the example of the startup and the consulting gig throughout the season. And I got to both of those bosses, let's keep the metaphor, without knowing the destination, without really having in mind what I wanted from it. I just wanted to move. I accepted the startup when I had just graduated. My entire plans had fallen through, and I wanted to do something. I loved always doing stuff, and I started freelancing, and the startup looked good. It looked like a nice bus, so I got on it. And at first, I was just making observations, presentations, saying like my recommendations and stuff, and it was fine, but I grew a lot in it, and I ended up realizing or thinking, maybe this boss can end up going to the direction that I want to go to. It looked that way. It looked as if it was going in that direction. And because I was in that bus and how I was increasing experience, I started realizing what actually was the direction that I wanted to head to. And I tried to make it work. I fixed the entire bus. I even had a map. I was trying to guide, and I was under the impression that we were heading that way and we were working together, but I actually said left, and instead we just stopped and got stuck or then moved. So it was not moving, flowing correctly, and every time that destination kept looking farther and farther away, and the cost, I finally started being aware of the cost that I had been paying that whole time in order to stay on that bus. It did not make sense. And thankfully, I said, I'm off, I'm out. And I left that bus because I was no longer gonna keep paying that cost. And I also didn't trust that they were gonna head in the right direction. But even if they end up in that destination, that's not the way that I want to end up in that destination. Not at that cost. And the same thing with the consulting. I got on it. It was a good job. It was high paying. It was giving me exposure, and I wanted to learn. And sometimes when your intention is to learn, that can get you into some trouble because, well, internships a lot of times are not paid and you're just doing them to learn. But honestly, if you're adding value and working, you should actually be compensated in some way. Anyways, I've always overvalued learning, and I did learn a lot, but I didn't get on it realizing the destination. And as I was in it and I was learning and learning more and more, my destination started to getting clearer and clearer and clearer of where I wanted to head to. And I fought for a bit that maybe that bus could also go with me, take me to that destination. And I kept riding it, hoping that it would. And in some ways, it felt like we were getting closer, but it was making a lot of stops. It was slowing down, and my pace was a lot faster than the bus could actually take on. So I got off. So I'm giving you these examples of ways that sometimes you need to know when you've ride for enough time in a bus. And even though I did get a lot of information to clarify what I actually wanted to do and where I wanted to head, not every opportunity that you take will give you clarity. Some opportunities might make you more confused. They might separate you from yourself more, and they might make you stuck. There's buses that might actually not have windows, so you cannot even see, so you lose sense of where you're at, and you just might keep staying because you're afraid to get off and have nothing else present. That's not true. You're being fooled because you have no light. You can get off, and there's more opportunities out there. There's always more opportunities. And it's not just sit around and hope for them to come. You can always make them happen as well. So there's a lot that can happen. And anything that is at the cost of yourself, it's not worthwhile. I've said it every single episode, and I'll keep saying it. Sometimes if your destination or your goal is actually image-oriented, you want higher position, you want wealth, you want maybe your resume, remember that comes at a high cost. See if it's actually worthwhile and see what are your intentions for it. Are you doing it for yourself or how you're going to be looked? Because people look at the buses passing by. And you might be seen as someone because you're in a bus. But what's the experience like actually being in that bus? Is it good? Is it taking you where you actually want to go? Is it taking you the way that doesn't cost you yourself? The most important thing is clarity. It is discernment. It is trying to use information from the different opportunities and around you so you can decide what's your destination. And again, you're going to have many, 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 many destinations in your life, and you can keep changing it every single time. That's okay. And your destination can be literally what you're going to do next, or it can be a general purpose in life. They either work. They work as a compass, as a north, to give you information so you can make better choices for yourself. And you also need to have clarity on what you're willing to pay for. How much you're willing to pay, and what exactly are you willing to trade. And you need to have awareness at all time. You can always get off at any time from a bus. You can change your destination whenever. And sometimes a bus might look like it's heading to a direction and then not really. So you can get off if it ends up being different than what you expected, or the cost ends up being higher. Because a lot of the things, as I started this episode, are not what they seem. And it's fine to change. And going back to the information, you're going to meet a lot of people at the bus stops and in the buses. You're going to have conversations. And all of that is information to keep helping you clarify, get clarity, see if you're being met, if that is where you want to be, if that is helping you know where you want to go next. And in these buses, there's also going to be views. There's going to be windows. You're going to be exposed. You're going to see a lot. All of it is information that can help you get more clarity so you can make better choices for yourself. Not every opportunity is one you should take. Not every opportunity is meant for you. You can get off at any time. So I'm going to end this with, what bus are you currently on? Where is it taking you? And what is it costing you?